Our main event of the evening includes you. You out there. The IWC. The Internet Wrestling Community. The community that is often called one of the most toxic fan bases in the world. Blah. Where do we begin when it comes to talking about the IWC? The turncoats, the jealousy, the arrogance. I think personally it's stewed to a perfection. I am a rare breed in this industry. I believe. I'm rare. Because let me tell you something that a lot of people aren't going to tell you. I love the IWC. I just do. I just love it. I love it for all the wrong reasons, to be honest
You're
with you.
being sarcastic?
No. I love it for all the wrong reasons. You ever found comedy? You ever found hilarity in someone who speaks with such certainty that what they're saying to you is nothing but factual truth? And the whole time you're listening and you're allowing them to finish their point, you're thinking in your head, this has to be the biggest fucking idiot I've ever met in my entire life. Everything that they're saying is 100% incorrect. Everything about what they're saying is so outrageous, so stupid, so ludicrous that it can only come from a true fan. I've said it on the show before, I'll say it again. Fan is short for fanatic. And there is nothing that I love more than fanatics. And this goes beyond the wrestling world. Because I got to tell you, toxicity is not exclusive to professional wrestling. There are many, many forms of toxicity when it comes to fandom. Off the top of my head right now, if you were to ask me what's worse, wrestling fans or Star Wars fans or sports fans, like people who would just obsess over the NFL or obsess over the NBA, or daytime television fans or reality television fans or cooking show fans or book reading club fans, there is an element of that arrogance in all of it. I double dog dare you to try to convince our Star Wars fans that the 3 movies that just recently came out are the best trilogy of the group. Tell them Rey Skywalker is a thing. It is canon. That happened. They brought back Palpatine because they could. And no one could stop them. And the Star Wars fan base goes nuts. You're a video game guy. Which fan base do you think is the most toxic?
The one that I know of is definitely League of Legends.
Now, toxic towards its own game or toxic towards other games because they just can't match up to the wonderfulness that is the League of Legends game?
In my opinion, I don't think there's a difference. I think fans are usually both. I think fans are the worst critics to the things that they love. And they also hate other shit because it's not the thing that they love.
I hate what I love, but I hate yours more because it's not what I love.
Yeah, mine fucking sucks, but yours is the fucking worst.
Yeah, I would rather have my sucky thing than your sucky thing because my sucky thing is better than your sucky thing. Oh my God! When we were kids, we grew up with the prequels for Star Wars, the episode 1, episode 2, and episode 3, and when those movies came out, all of the fans from the older movies shit all over it.
Absolutely, fucking hated it.
And then we fast forward to these new movies, and somehow these new movies united the previous fans from the older ones and went, these movies can't compare to the prequels. These prequels are classics. It's like, wait a minute. When did this become good? What happened? You were so steadfast. Marvel's fan base is the same. Everything pre-Endgame, awesome. Everything post-Endgame, DC Universe released the Snyder Cut, followed by James Gunn made Superman 2 comic book accurate. Oh, baby. This happens everywhere. That's why when I say things like, I don't mind the IWC, I don't mind the internet wrestling community, you just said a second ago, you being sarcastic. No, I'm not being sarcastic.
I still feel like you're being sarcastic.
Two reasons why I still like it. Okay? One, despite how actually fanatical wrestling fans can really, really get, I feel like there has to be some sort of checks and balances. It can't all be great. It can't all be good. We can't just look at every wrestling company and just go, you know what? You guys are doing the fucking best job ever. But then again, this is where the con comes in. It can't all always be bad either. Everything sucks. I wouldn't have booked it that way. You should be booking the way that I would book it. You got to be somewhere in the middle. And I feel like there's more people in the middle than we acknowledge. I feel like there's people who watch it religiously but don't get carried away with it. And maybe they are too into it, where it's just like, oh, this is great, and that's great, and this is great, when really it's kind of blah. Whereas the other way, where everything is disgusting, everything sucks, this person is no good, right? We just saw it recently. Jey Uso wins the Royal Rumble. Awesome. It was unpredictable. It was a guy we didn't see coming, but he's super over with the audience. I love this guy. He makes me root for him. And then goes the other way. He can't wrestle. He can't cut a promo. All he does is just do the yeet shit. He's over with the audience, but he's not really good at what he does. It's wavy inflatable arm tube man, right? Sometimes the IWC gets it wrong. Sometimes they get it right. You were the only human being, you, Dave, was the only human being on planet Earth that actually not only thought that Charlotte would win the Rumble, but it was the only real conceivable answer to the question.
I find that hard to believe.
No, Joe picked Charlotte. But Joe picked Charlotte because it's Charlotte. He's I don't want her to win, but I just feel like she's going to because it's Charlotte. There was a lot of people who did that. They were like, I don't want Charlotte to win, but if she's back, they're probably going to give it to her. You looked into the camera and said, there's literally no other choice. It's got to be Charlotte. And man, when Charlotte won that fucking Royal Rumble and threw Roxanne over the top rope, you were the topic of the whole room. Because you were like, he was the only one that saw that. And then, you know, she wins the Rumble, and I'm listening to Cornette's podcast. And he brought up a good point, even though it was completely by accident. He said he loved the idea of Charlotte winning because she's a top star. She's one of the most decorated women they have. But it's one of those things, how can I miss you if you don't go away? She's been gone for a year. She disappeared. She allowed other women to elevate their game, get a little better, and now she's back into the fold. This is a great time to bring her back. It's WrestleMania season. She's going to be a big element to that. He saw nothing but positives. And then he watched Raw. On the next episode of the Cornette podcast, he watched Raw. And Charlotte went out there and began a babyface promo. This was such a hard year for me. The injury changed my life. I missed you guys. I worked so hard to come back so that I can perform for you guys. And they're booing this bitch until the end of time. They're unmerciful. This year was so bad. Good for you. This injury sucked. Get hurt again. Whatever the case may be, get off of my fucking television. God damn. I don't blame you. I blame the doctor. When they tore your knee, they should have took the knee off. They should have removed that whole lower leg.
Should have smited you while you had the chance.
Jesus, you should have finished the job. You had her under the gas. She was unconscious. You had a chance, and you ruined it for everybody. They don't like her, and sometimes when the IWC renders a judgment, sometimes it does come true. In the case of someone like Charlotte, it did come true. They don't like her, and out of nowhere, it just seems that the casual fan also now started sliding into the whole they don't like her either. But it's you got to see the hypocrisy sometimes with that. We don't like Charlotte because she's taking the spot from somebody underneath who deserved that opportunity more, who's been here for the last year, busting their ass and making shit work. And she just comes in.
Long are the days for me if you're a big ticket person to leave and just come back and just start. And I feel like it happens with the women more than anything, where it's just like, oh, I'm back. Like, move out of the way. I'm here. Give me my belt back. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't. I'm trying to think of when that happens to the men.
Well,
like
here's the funny part.
Like, you gotta fight for it.
But that's the hilarious part of the whole conversation. You just said it. When's the last time that happened for the men? The people who were rooting against Charlotte so that she didn't do that were the same people rooting for John to do it. It was supposed to happen. They wanted John to beat Jay.
And
when it came down to those two, people were pissed that John didn't win over Jey Uso.
I agree with what you're saying, and what I'm saying is not to contradict what you're saying, but it proves what I just said. Like, they didn't do it to the guys.
Right, exactly.
But they did it to the women. Right. And this is constant. But every time a big ticket person comes back, move out of my way. I'm here now.
Allow me to retort. Because if you're saying that they did it with the women but they didn't do it with the men, that's fair. That's what happened. But for everybody, and this is not just a you thing, this is to everybody out there. Whoever wants to answer the question can answer the question. If Charlotte did not win the Rumble, let's say Charlotte returns in the same fashion that John did. She gets all the way down to the last two people, and then that last person throws Charlotte over the top rope to get the rub, just like Jay did.
She's over like Rover.
Point to a woman who's in that Rumble that's Jey Uso over. There isn't one. Who's throwing Charlotte over the top rope then? Who do you think would have gained the most? Who would have gained the most?
There are others who could have gotten it over her, though.
Okay, who would have gained the most from it?
And who's going to win Elimination Chamber? This was my argument with her in the first place. It should not have been the Rumble. Whoever you have booked to win the Elimination Chamber should have went over in the Rumble. I don't care who
You're saying they should have reversed it.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't give a fuck who it is. Whoever the chamber was going to be should have won the Rumble. Put Charlotte in the chamber. She fights for it and then gets it because she's a beast. Not because she sat in a corner for a few hours while a bunch of different people did a spot and then she came in the middle at the end and won an obvious win.
Right.
Which it was still good for that person. Who was it? Roxanne, I think it is, something like that.
That was the runner-up. Yeah, Roxanne Perez.
And quick side note, I knew they were going to use that shit to push her because that promo she did, that little video thing she had where she stated that she was talking about the Rumble as being like
she was in there longer than any woman ever in history. She was in there for an hour and 7 minutes. I knew they were
going to run that shit. And that's awesome. It works for her. But put whoever was going to win the chamber in Charlotte's place. I believe Roxanne still could have gotten that push from that.
Okay.
That person would have won the Rumble, which would have been better. And then Charlotte would have fought for the spot that she was going to be given.
Okay. So then,
and to me, that booking makes way more sense. And Charlotte's over. Okay. Especially, I'm sorry, I know you're trying to get in, but let me finish this thought. Especially if she was in the Rumble and got eliminated.
Who's that?
Charlotte.
Okay,
if she was in the Rumble, got eliminated, gave her a story how this is bullshit and she's going to fight back, goes to the chamber and wins, now we have a story. or at least something to work with. Just showing up at the Rumble and fucking winning does nothing. It just completely hurts her, and people hate
It
greatness.
hurts her. That didn't do nothing. It hurts her. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it hurts her. Yeah, for sure.
So let me ask you this then, okay? In this scenario, I'm giving you Charlotte as the last person eliminated. We're down to the last two, right? Should Liv Morgan have thrown Charlotte over the top rope?
I think that's a waste.
Okay, hold on.
So no,
I
mean, I don't think she should have threw over. What's her name? To be honest with you, fucking the other little one.
The other little one? Oh, yeah. Bliss.
Yeah, I'm fucking terrible with names. Yeah, the actual. On. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Bianca Belair.
That's an obvious yes.
Yes.
Who are you talking? Yes, absolutely.
But
she's stuck in a fucking story right now where she can't do anything. So she's kind of stuck right now.
Yeah. Alexa Bliss. Now there's an interesting turn of events.
I would have been okay with that if they're pushing her that far, though.
Based on the reaction that Alexa got, I think people would have been okay with that.
Oh, that place would have fucking exploded.
Bayley.
But again, I don't think she's getting pushed like that right now.
Bayley.
No, God fucking no.
Naomi.
No.
And Roxanne Perez.
No,
you already
too soon.
Too soon, right.
I think where she went was perfect. I think everything for her worked out perfect.
Right. She didn't need that win right then, right in that circumstance right there.
I believe her getting the loss is favorable for her than ever getting that win right now.
Okay, so those are the 4 women that are in the chamber. I mean, not 4, excuse me. Those are the 6 women that are in the chamber. So if you're saying that Charlotte should have won the chamber and one of the women from the chamber should have won the Rumble, that only really leaves us based on your criteria, maybe 2.5, 2 and a possible.
2 and a possible.
Because if Bianca wins the Rumble, if Bianca wins the Rumble, that solves your problem with Charlotte. Because the end goal, as we're now finding out, was always going to be Charlotte and Tiffany. That leaves Rhea open.
Sure.
And we've been talking about that dream match for years, Bianca and Rhea. But
I don't think Tiffy is ready for this.
Tiffy's not ready for Charlotte?
Especially going in as the champion. This is a very difficult position. This is another topic for another day.
This is a topic for next week because we're doing the Elimination Chamber.
This is a fucking tough situation for her to be in for her career. I'm just saying. We'll talk about it later.
Hold on to that for next week because we're talking about the Chamber next week. But to get back to the ideology of the internet wrestling community being either for or against anything at all, the moving target that is their criteria, the IWC, the internet wrestling community. And as much as we would like to say that they're a bigger deal than they are still just the minority. They're a loud minority, but they're not the ones that really keep a company together and moving forward. The evidence of this, if I have to point to anything to show my point about how minor the internet wrestling community really is, look at AEW's attendance numbers. Look what it has become. The internet wrestling community was their bread and butter, and they're not going to shows anymore.
No, because they're too fucking long.
But that last pay-per-view we just talked about, the Royal Rumble, equally as long, still filled to the brim.
Yeah, but you have greatness.
Oh, that's true.
Think of it like this: if you have a bar, and then you have low, medium, and high, right? I would argue that right now, wrestling for the most part on that bar, if you have 3 different colors, you have high on both ends, so beginning and end, you have high. Then you have a little bit of low, and then a little bit of mid. But I would say like the mid is a little bit bigger. There's very little low, and I think right now on both sides they're high. I mean, some of their fucking pay-per-views are starting off fucking Roman Reigns. Like you have high on both ends. They're stacked. That's like a sandwich of greatness. And there's a little bit less. The color of mid is very, 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 very small in the middle. I think low is there too, but it's very small. So a lot of high-end content on both sides. Sandwich, you got your little filler in the middle. AEW, bro. Okay, I'm biased when I say this. I don't fucking see the high color on the bar at all. and then you have like mid on both sides, and then damn near the whole line is low. So when you have a fucking 6, 7, 8 hour show of just bullshit, I don't even want to watch that at home. I don't want that shit in the background.
Yeah,
like it's just fucking noise at that
Which
point.
Which is funny because
I don't want it.
In the beginning, we watched every single one of them. Like when they first started,
AEW was hype at first.
Yes,
but that's when they had a lot less going on with a lot better things happening. Their pay-per-views were fucking blowing it out of their pay-per-views were the greatest part about the fucking show. I spent
for a
money
while
to
there.
watch
It was all the pay-per-views.
And in the moment, I'll never forget when it happened. They did that bullshit explosion match. Was the moment for me where they just went off the rails. And then later they did that weird ass 2-ring cell match that was fucking weird. And it just kept getting weirder as time went on. Their show started to get fucking longer and long. Dude, I don't got time for that shit, dude.
Yeah, and it also comes down to access. Because if the WWE is going to go 4 hours, here's the thing about it. I was at Pombo's house for the Royal Rumble. I was pretty determined to watch the whole show. But, like, for instance, next week is the Elimination Chamber, which is a Saturday. It's March 1st. It happens to land on my son's birthday party. So I'm probably not going to watch it live, which is fine. I'll just watch it the next fucking day. Mm-hmm. Up until recently, that was not an option for me for AEW. I would have to go looking for it on the internet to get it. So if I'm going to watch the pay-per-view, if I get the pay-per-view, I have to watch it all the way through. And I don't have time for that. And not for nothing, I don't need to watch a pay-per-view that has 13 fucking matches on it. They're all doing the same thing.
Oh, I'm not doing it.
They all do the same fucking thing. There's nothing different about any of those matches. Nothing. They all have the same exact matches. I'm just watching everything on repeat. It's done. And the funny thing is that now so many WWE superstars have made their way to AEW, and they just milled it in with everybody else. Even Edge at this point is just another fucking guy there. So, it is what it is. But and that's another thing too. I saw a sign in the crowd the other day. It says tribalism is toxic. Yeah, but you know what? Tribalism is also kind of necessary. Because, yes, there's a lot of toxicity and a lot of cons that come to that. But you know what? There's some good to that. Because I watch WWE, and it's not a perfect product at all. I'm not going to sit here and say it's the greatest fucking thing since sliced
close.
bread. But I can sit through it. I'll manage. I was just talking to my wife the other day. They put Raw on Netflix so I can watch it all the time, and I keep forgetting that it's on. Because other than the first episode and the one that followed, it's been really lackluster Raws. But that's just because they're getting ready for WrestleMania. They didn't want anybody to get hurt, so they're being very specific and choosy as to who they put on the show. That's fine. That's the prerogative, but it doesn't make for a fantastic show every night. So it's not a perfect product. I can't sit through AEW. So, obviously, I'm a WWE guy just by that criteria right there. So, according to the internet, I'm an E-drone. I'm a WWE-er. I hate AEW by default because Vince McMahon has programmed my brain to dislike any real wrestling outside of WWE. This is the kind of shit that's out there. It goes the other way too. WWE fans do the same thing. Oh, it's just AEW is just a high budget indie. They don't really have any stars there. If anything, they're star killers because they'll hire a star and then murder that person's reputation. They don't have anybody who can get over. The fucking production is the shits. There's no, what was it? They do memes like when Penta debuted and he was coming through the entranceway, and he looks at the hard cam, and like for a brief moment he looked kind of confused, and in the meme the word said, "Gee, why are there people on the hard cam side?" It's like, God damn, son, let them live. This is the era of business amongst the fans. I've never seen fans pay so much attention to TV ratings, attendance, patterns. You know, they sold 3,000 tickets to this event, and they comped 300 more, or whatever the fuck. Like, Jesus Christ, everybody here is trading stock. Since when did everyone give a fuck about Nielsen ratings? During the streaming era, no one gave a shit about Nielsen ratings when they were the most important thing on television. For a while, that was the big deal. Getting a 3 on the Nielsen's, or a 4. Getting 4 million homes or 5 million homes to watch your shit. Now it's all streaming. No one gives a shit about Nielsen ratings anymore. But these people keep arguing this shit to the tilt. Oh, Collision only had 700,000 viewers as opposed to SmackDown, which had 1.4 million. Like, that's your argument to what was a better show? That's why I say people think I'm being sarcastic. I love it because it stirs up all this kinds of fucking conversation. And and everyone who's having this conversation is oblivious to the idea that everything they're saying is subjective shit. It's all subjective shit. It's like the greatest of all time conversation. Who's the greatest of all time? There isn't one. Because it's subjective shit. If I ask somebody who they feel is the greatest wrestler of all time, they're going to tell me who their favorite wrestler is of all time. They're not going to tell me who the greatest is. They're going to tell me who they believe is the best because that's their favorite. Somewhere out there, someone thinks Claudio Castagnoli is the greatest wrestler of all time. Because that's their guy. That's their guy. That's how that works. It's the same thing in any sport. If I go to somebody and go, who's the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan or LeBron James, they're going to pick the person they like the most. Who's the greatest hockey player? Who's the greatest actor? Who's the greatest scientist? Who's the greatest? It doesn't matter. There's no GOAT conversation ever. It doesn't exist. It's all subjective. All of it. Same thing with the IWC. Well, I wouldn't have booked it that way. Well, you don't book. That's one of the reasons why they didn't do that, because you're not a booker. There are people in the industry who can't book. But the guy sitting on the couch watching Raw, he can book better than the people who are booking. People actually started a petition online to try to get Triple H fired from his job because Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble. Tell me kayfabe died. Tell me kayfabe isn't real. Tell it to me again, because I'm confused.